knockouts. He couldn't get his punch in because he'd been taught to lay back. With a little time, a little work, we corrected it. In his first 14 fights under Futch, Billy Peacock scored 11 knockouts, including one over world champion Raton Macias. Billy destroyed him, Futch said, broke his jaw. Futch's in-the-ring success made him a sought-after trainer. He turned down more potential fighters than he accepted. If they didn't like his way of doing things, if they didn't have chemistry, he declined the offer. I have my prescribed system, Futch said. The use of my fighter's strengths and the exploitation of his opponent's weaknesses. Then you put the pieces together. Futch never used the word tired, even in reference to an opponent. He didn't allow his fighters to stretch their arms across the ropes while in the corner. They were kept folded on their lap. He didn't sponge his fighter down or apply an ice bag in the early rounds. If I get excited, it only stands to reason that the fighter will get excited, Futch said. I have seen some corners where the fighter takes a bigger beating between rounds than he does during the fight. Essentially, there are 4 goals to running an efficient corner: rest, relax, refresh, and instruct. Futch also eliminated training methods that were etched in stone in the sport for ages. Medicine balls, for example, were off limits for his fighters. You strengthen the stomach by doing sit-ups, Futch said. Smashing a heavy object over and over into your midsection only serves to damage organs, but is good if what you're trying to do is turn your liver into jelly. Futch believed that the jab was the best weapon in boxing, but defense was always the first and last thing he had a fighter work on. They all want to throw a punch, Futch said, but they don't want to learn to avoid one until it's too late. In his first 4 decades as a trainer, Futch continued working other jobs in order to pay his bills. He worked as a hotel waiter, a laborer, a welder, a sheet metal worker in an aircraft plant, and later as a distribution clerk at the Los Angeles Post Office. After a hiatus from the sport, Futch was hired to work in Joe Frazier's camp in 1966, now finally able to become a full-time boxing trainer. In 1971, he was the guiding hand that enabled Frazier to defeat Muhammad Ali, devising a strategy to allow the shorter Frazier to work his way inside. Ali had to throw his uppercut, Futch said, but I knew he would throw it wrong. I told Joe, every time you see Ali's hand come down, that means he's going to throw an uppercut. But the minute he drops his right hand, you throw your left hook, because he's got nothing up there to parry it. Futch earned only $5,000 for his part, but proved his value as a master tactician. 2 years later, he received significantly larger compensation for his services. In the late 1960s, Futch was approached by a couple of California businessmen who wanted him to train Ken Norton, an ex-Marine with a Herculean physique, but who moved with the dexterity of a statue. Futch remolded the fighter like he always did. By 1973, Norton was sent in against the heavily favored Muhammad Ali. The press and fans saw Norton as only a marginal club fighter with no chance of victory. People laughed when I said Ken Norton was ready, Futch said. Why, even Howard Cosell said whoever was putting Norton in the ring with Ali should have his license pulled. But Futch saw things in Ali's style that Norton could exploit. Years earlier, the two had engaged in a wild one-round sparring session in Los Angeles, where Norton had gotten the better of Ali. Now for their official fight, Futch instructed Norton to guard his face with an open right glove, placing it in a position to neutralize Ali's jab. Futch further instructed Norton to fight out of a crouch, keep himself in the center of the ring, and counter Ali's jabs with 3 of his own, stepping forward, calculating that it would only take 3 moves to get Ali to the ropes. Futch observed that when Ali was on the ropes, his tendency was to lean back from headshots. So once Norton had Ali back to the ropes, Futch instructed Norton to let loose with body shots. The strategy was a smashing success.